right? Okay, on to page 39, Howard Gardner. Fleming's little clue there about, maybe going at this a different way, maybe teaching this a different way. Maybe not just going at this one way, but thinking at it from another way. In my mind, that connects up with what Gardner does. So, some of you are familiar. How many of you are familiar with this idea of multiple intelligences? No? Yeah, a few. Okay. If you're not, this is really quite fun. Lots to read up at the top of the page there. There's lots of information here. So here's the 8 intelligences that he's talking about. Linguistic, in other words, being word smart, people that are really good with words. Logical, mathematical, the sort of logical, mathematical mind. These are the people who did well at Hebrew at seminary. Because it's all like math, right? And people like me that barely got through grade 12 math and tried to do calculus and thought that I was going to actually, go out of my mind. I'm not very high on that one. Spatial, right? Spatial intelligence, right? My wife and I have a little game at home in terms of, do you know what size container to put the leftovers in? And the answer is that neither one of us are very good at spatial intelligence. We can't tell. And things sort of pile over the top and spill on the counter and this sort of stuff. My father-in-law was a surgeon. Well, if you're a surgeon, you have to have very high spatial intelligence, right? My wife's a doctor. She likes to tell the story about how difficult cardiology was for her to learn. She's not a cardiologist. She's a pediatrician. Because this is going that direction, and this is going that direction, and this is flowing here, and that's going there, and it's all kind of upside down, and it's like, what is going on, right? Other people just say, I totally got it, right? So, you want your plumber to have good spatial intelligence, okay? Bodily kinesthetic. There are some people that are very good. These are the people who are good dancers, which I'm not particularly, or really good at sports, right? Very coordinated people, right? They know where their body parts are at all times, right? And we're going to hear a story a bit later about this form of intelligence quite beautifully. Musical, right? How many of you are really musical people? And even admit that? You're really musical. Yeah. What happened to you? There's got to be more musical people here. Come on. Maybe I should teach this. Okay. Interpersonal, right? This is the people smart, right? Some people can read other people. Some people pick up what's going on in relationships much better than other people, right? You all know this. This is common sense, but there are some people highly intelligent in that mode, right? And so if, for instance, you want to be a pastor and you have very low interpersonal intelligence, you're going to struggle. There may be a role for you, but you're going to struggle, because it's going to count on interpersonal intelligence, right? Intrapersonal is another one, very interestingly. Do you understand who you are, what's going on inside of you? Are you aware of your emotions and your feelings? Are you aware of your inner life, right? There are some people who seem quite disconnected from any sense of their inner life. And there are other people who are highly introspective, intuitive. They're very tuned into what's going on with them, right? The original list that Gardner developed was 7, and then he added an 8th. And it's this idea of nature smart, a naturalist intelligence, which is really about the way in which you see yourself as connected to the wider world and the wider environment, or not. And a lot of people, this has been the controversial one. And so when he sort of added this to his theory over time, people said, now wait a minute, that doesn't seem like the other ones. And there's a big argument going on, which is what scholars like to do, is have big arguments about theories. So there might be some, I'm not quite convinced about this myself. Maybe I should be, I don't know. But the 8 or 7 at least are different aspects of a person. And one of the things I like about this is I want to connect it up here with this whole person focus, right? It's not that you have one form of intelligence or you have another form or I have another form. We all have multiple forms, right? Actually. But we have them in different degrees for sure. And in some of them they might be pretty poorly developed, and in others some of them might be very highly developed, right? But it's the nature of us to have multiple intelligences, right? And what he says is, look at the middle of the page there, intelligence is not one thing. It's not a general ability, right? Belief in a single intelligence assumes that we have one central all-purpose computer, using that metaphor, determines how we perform in every sector of life. In contrast, a belief in multiple intelligences assume we have a number of relatively autonomous computers, one that computes linguistic information, another spatial information, another musical information, and so on. Well, again, I'm a little resistant to this mechanical image of a computer, because there's a lot of pressure in our world that's sort of reducing us to a machine model. Right? Beware of this idea of your brain as some sort of computer, as it's much different than that, please. All of our intelligences are a part of who we are, and I haven't seen your computer know very much about dancing. Try to get your computer to dance. Could you try that? No, it's, yeah. There we go. Very good. Okay, so everybody's got all these in some way or other, some stronger than others, over the page here if you're with me. It's not a learning style per se, but it's a function of who you are. The other thing that he wants to say is that we develop, right? Intelligences are not given. The place where he's been particularly revolutionary and radical and stirred up a whole mess of trouble was people previous to him particularly thought intelligence was one thing and it was given, and it's what you had. It wasn't something you actually developed. What he argued was, no, they're multiple and not one thing, and they're not static, they're actually dynamic, so that you can learn and grow. Back to learning can happen within these intelligences. Okay?